Some of us often judge people by the way they look or what they say, but we heard of a woman who reckons she can tell a personality just by looking at a picture. So we asked Colleen Harris to go along and meet her and see what her face reveals.
It's said that our eyes are the window to our soul. I don't know whether that's true or not, but there are some people who claim to be able to read a person's character just by looking at a photograph of their face. Inside Out has decided to put this claim to the test. I'm going to post this photograph of me to a lady called Glenna Trout. She lives near Ipswich and has been reading faces for nearly 30 years.
Wow, Colleen, nice to see your photograph. Okay, what do I see in the picture? Let me get rid of the envelope. I see a very attractive young woman. She has got that childlike wonder in her eyes, which makes me think she's very, very curious. She's incredibly determined, I would say stubborn. She's got a lot of creative energy, but she focuses that all to other people and none of it to herself.
So has Glenna described me accurately? Well, you can find out later in the film.
Face reading is the art of understanding a person's personality, their emotional makeup, the different layers of them. It's a map to the territory. Our face is an expression of where we come from, where we are, and where we're going if we don't change our attitudes toward life and self. One of the easiest ways for you to learn to use the face reading is both with emotional expressions and with the mirror imaging.
But what are the practical applications, if any, of face reading? Well, Glenna Trout believes companies can benefit by using face reading techniques to make sure they employ the best staff. This consultancy company in Henley in Suffolk is one of those who've taken the method on board.
The reason why face reading is so useful in human resource management is that, you know, we're talking about people, and with face reading you learn so much more about the person behind the mask, and therefore when you're interacting with them you keep that in mind and you change your communication depending on what you're seeing.
Lena Hogg is convinced face reading has a role to play in the workplace, and while she admits it's not 100% accurate, she says on occasion it's proved invaluable.
There was one lady at one of my clients, and there was a performance issue, and once I'd actually studied her face I realised that actually she needed a lot of control, and she was feeling quite fearful. So when I had a chat with her, all of these things came out from my questioning, and she realised for herself that she was in the wrong job.
But it's not just in the office where face reading has been used. Nearly 30 years ago, Glenna Trout worked as a police officer in the United States. She found that reading faces was a useful weapon when interrogating criminals. What's the science behind this, or is it just like reading tea leaves or palms?
That's often what people think, which I did too because I was quite skeptical about it. But what happens is if you start looking at the mirror image and you start putting it into practice, and you look at someone's face and you think, well, that face isn't quite congruent. So if we just look at a convicted arsonist and look at, you know, the right side of his face being the social mask, and we look at what he's projecting, and you can see clearly here he's projecting someone who's really down on his luck and needs a hand up in life and a little bit of help. Very sad. But when you look at the man behind the mask, do you sense the same person?
He looks mean and angry.
Absolutely. So you could tell, but you could get sucked into something different here than here. So the science is in the application of it. Facial emotions has science behind it. The rest of it is practice and application and then confirming. Colleen, I have a few pictures here. I want to test your face reading skills because all of us do read faces, and I just want to see how accurate you are. So as I put the picture up, just flip each one over and give me your first impressions, just very, very quickly.
Okay.
So your first impressions.
First judgment. She looks quite in anguish in a way. The expression on the face, because the eyes, I think. Or in pain or something like that.
Okay, very good. And that's very perceptive because she's accepting the Golden Globe Award and everyone would think she'd be very happy, but she's got that exhaustion, that detached look behind the mask. Very good.
This family.
What about him? What do you see in him?
Him, he looks happy. He looks happy and joyous to be with his baby and his partner. There's a real nice smile there which appears genuine. Don't know how accurate I am.
His smile doesn't reach his eyes, so the smile is used as a mask to cover. He actually murdered his wife and his young daughter.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's a shock. In 2008, Briton Neil Entwistle was convicted of murdering his American wife and baby daughter.
After being found guilty of murder in the first degree as ordered by the court, to be sentenced to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution at Cedar Junction for the term of life.
So, Glenna, this picture I found misread and found quite surprising. How did you read this character, this Entwistle guy?
Well, because the smile was only on his mouth, it didn't reach his eyes at all, and we're looking for emotion, if it's a genuine emotion throughout the whole face. So here it's the darkness of his eyes, there's the different emotions in his eyes, but the smile is usually what takes our attention, so we overlook what's behind the mask. This other photograph of him in court shows his arrogance. You know, without the smile, more of his true character shows through.
And that's in the eyes, is it?
It's in the eyes, it's in the mouth, it's in the private side, you know, over here where he's withholding.
It's easy to say that, isn't it, with hindsight, because we know about Entwistle and his background. But could you spot these things without knowing that?
Well, ahead of time, like when there's been a charge or someone's under investigation, we can look for certain facial characteristics, certain emotions, the lack of certain emotions that we would expect, and then put that picture together. Now, just walking down the street, if I saw him, I might say, "Woo, something's not quite hanging together right," and analyze that, but I'd never be able to say he's going to shoot his wife and daughter.
It's time for the moment of truth. What did my photograph tell Glenna about my personality?
Well, the photo is absolutely fantastic because it shows a lot of the parts behind your mask that you don't show when you're actually in person. That chin has so much determination in it, and it's a gentle determination that will take you through time. Once you know what your wants, needs, and desires are, and you're living your life the way you want, and your creative energy is absolutely, totally released. The shape of your mouth and your lips and things, it shows me that you're a people pleaser, that a lot of your energy goes to keeping other people happy. Your determination is very spot on, and because of your sparkling, bubbly personality, people don't see the insecurity behind that mask. The eyebrows are up, and that's that childlike wonder, that's a surprise. Surprise is a lovely, adventuresome emotion. I never assume I'm accurate when I'm doing a face reading, but what I do is I do a read, and when I get the results back from individuals or others that know that individual, they are always saying how accurate it is. Now, 100% accurate, no, and I'd never say that.
Well, that's pretty much sums me up, actually. In many ways, you're spot on in that I think I really come alive when I'm allowed to be expressive. Never really thought of myself as a people pleaser, but I do care that people are happy, and it bugs me if they're not happy, and I think, well, how can I make them happy? You know, so
there's 3 layers of emotions. We have the transient emotion, which is right there on your face, that changes moment by second by second as you're processing information. The next layer is the sequence of emotion, how the expression when I first hear a topic, how I feel about it, and then, you know, the way the emotions scroll across my face. The third layer of emotion I'm looking at is the deeply etched emotions. They say we have the face we deserve by the time we're 40, and that's because of the emotions we express over and over and over get deeply etched into our face, like a wear mark in the carpet.